Roots. Roots. Truth roots. Ah, you can do better than that. Okay. Truth. Truth. Roots, truth. Are you sure about that? Are you really sure? One more time, and then we start. Truth. Truth. Roots, roots. Truth, truth. Something is happening on that side. I'm doing this for you again, yeah? Truth. Truth. Roots, roots. Truth, truth, truth. Okay, we can start. Thank you so much, thank you. I want to start with a quote from the book by Marcus Garvey. He said, people without knowledge of their history is like a tree without roots. And as I was coming to this event, I was with my sons, and one of them was telling me, Mom, are we trees? How do we have roots, and how are we going to be trees? Are we trees with roots? Make that make sense. And that's what this book is doing for us. This book is getting us to start important conversations with our children. So I thank you so much for taking your time to come, for getting a copy of the book. This book is more than a children's book. It's a family book. It's a conversation starter. It's a tool that we have all been looking for. How do we start talking to our children about our parents, our values, our culture, all these things? So thank you so much to Dr. Chizoba for writing this for us. But as we start, I would like to invite the CEO of Kigali Public Library to come and give us her remarks. Madame Tessie, you are welcome to give us your remarks. And again, thank you for hosting us and giving us this space to launch our book. Karibu.
Thank you very much, Barbara. Thank you very much, everyone. Welcome to Kigali Public Library. It's always a pleasure for us to host you here. And it's our mandate to host you here. It's our mandate to offer a platform, to offer space to amazing authors like Dr. Chizoba, to share her knowledge, to share information, and to give time, to offer time to reflect on topics such as this. I always say my speech is always the least important part of the event. My job is only to encourage you to come back and encourage others to also write some more. You have a space, we have the time, and we're willing to walk you through this. So thank you very much. Thank you very much, Dr. Chizoba, for this book, for making it very kids-friendly, and for reminding us the importance of identity and starting these conversations early with our children. So thank you very much. I'm really looking forward to this.
Thank you, Madame Tessie, for giving us the space. I want to invite, well, before I invite Dr. Chizoba, I want to acknowledge someone special in this room. And I think she's also special to Dr. Chizoba. So a few weeks ago, we were at a family function, and I met one of my cousins. Her name is Tona, and I know she doesn't like the spotlight on her, but Tona, you made this happen. So we're in a family function. We had lost an aunt, and she comes to me and she's like, there is something serious I want to talk to you about. And I'm thinking, what's more serious than this family function we're having? She's like, I have a work colleague. She's put a book out and we need to launch the book. Can you help? And I'm thinking, Tona coming all the way to sit and tell me about this book, and we're in a family function. This is serious business. And I told her, yes, we will launch the book. So Tona, thank you for making this happen. And thank you for introducing me to Dr. Chizoba. I came on board and I told her we will get this going, and thank God we are here. So it has been a pleasure meeting you, Dr. Chizoba. Thank you for the great work you've done. But we want to come, we're here to hear from you. So come and give us your remarks, and we will have more time to discuss about this book. Karibu.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. Murahoneza. Ngiriwe. Good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for being here. It's such a pleasure. It's an honor to be here at the library. a home. My friend reminded me that I came here with my son 2 years ago just to get a book, and it's so surreal that I'm back here to launch a book. So I'm really grateful to you, Tessie, for everything, really, for everything. Also really grateful when I think about being here in Rwanda. I think it's really because we have an incredible leadership here that has really made Rwanda such an inspiring place for Africans to come together. So I'm really grateful for that. Also thankful really to my friends. My friends, I think that we've talked about Tona, but also, there are many more friends that have made today what it is. There's Chanel and there's Zaina that really opened me up to Tessie, but also, interestingly, my son. My son is the connection to all of these people. So I'm thankful to my friends. All of you know yourselves. All my friends in that corner, we know where we come from. So thank you. Also very grateful to our moderators, our moderator and our panelists. Many of them I met for the first time. I think it's only Susan that I've known from Green Hills. And the first time Susan saw the book, she's been carrying it on and running with it. But the other panelists I've met in such a short time. So I'm really grateful to all our panelists and you, Barbara, for everything, for everything. Too many to mention. Thankful for the families that have been a part of this journey. You're going to watch a documentary. You're going to hear and meet a few of the people that opened their heart to this book, and they're going to be sharing their experiences. So thankful for that. It's really, this is really a special time for me. It's been a long road to here, and I think this is the right time for us to have this conversation. I think we're at an inflection point. Every time it feels like we are, but Frantz Fanon has a quote that says that at every point in time, a generation must determine what they are going to do. Are they going to find out their mission, or are they going to accomplish it? And for me, I think my generation, we come at the backs of a lot of other people that have done and said a lot for the continent. I think it's now for us to practicalize that for the continent. And that's what this book is about. That's what I hope today will also be about. Talking about how do we move from just talking to action. So this book, as you would see, is practical. It's not a regular textbook. It's a practical tool to start new conversations. So I want to say thank you all and everyone that has come. Many new faces, really, really grateful to everyone. And I'm looking forward to us having an amazing time together. See you soon.
Let me ask the technical team to give us the documentary showcasing the different voices from different countries of what this book has been for them.
I think before the book, identity and kind of culture, yes, it was important, but it wasn't something I actively pursued. I knew it was important, but events overtook it, and because there isn't much material that is available to teach, even in language, to understand. A lot of it is more difficult to do because it's not easily available. But I think having gone through the book and experienced it, I have purposed to be intentional, right? To teach my kids their language, to teach us, my kids, and even myself, where I'm from and why it matters. It is not just to shove the language down the throat, but it is who we are. And if we don't teach who we are, it is unfortunately going to die. Like, we will be the last generation of Shona speaking in my particular family. So it has awakened in me the urgency to teach the children who we really are and why it matters.
So it has helped us talk about, I think, different family members, particularly because we're not in Ethiopia or we're not in Kenya. So, our kids are here in Rwanda, they're growing up here, so they're not seeing their extended family members all the time. So it has really allowed my kids to talk about them and to remember that they have family everywhere else. But also, I think for me, something that I thought was very cool was, to really know in detail about who they are, what their cultural practices are, more in depth. So that's what it has helped us talk about.
Know your roots, know your truth is such a transformative piece of the work. It helps the students or the children to actually engage in learning about themselves and their history and the legacy of their families, even though they're not in the environment where their parents grew up. When they know that they belong somewhere, they belong to a larger community, a longer lineage of people who have contributed to society in various ways.
What did you like about the book?
I like how it gave me the opportunity to talk and interview my parents about my background and my culture. I learned about my relatives who live in faraway countries. I learned some traditions that I didn't know before, for example, the masquerade. And I also learned why I am named Ifoma. It made me feel really happy to be able to learn about my culture, my country, and everything about me. I felt really just more connected to my traditions.
I learned that I have 9 cousins from my dad's side and 6 cousins from my mom's side. I talked to my mom and I learned that I am from Ile-Ife in Osun State, and my dad is from the Aromolaro family, and he changed his name from Aromolaro to Oluwatosin, and that is why I am bearing Oluwatosin. I will recommend this book to other children so they can learn about their family lineage and family roots. Thank you.
Did you learn something new about your family, about yourself?
About myself.
About yourself? What did you learn about yourself?
I have to know where I come from.
Did you get to learn about any new family member? Was there?
Yes.
Yes. Who did you learn about?
Great parents.
You learned about your great-grandparents?
Yes.
Wow. Why is it good for children to know about their great-grandparents?
You don't know, then I don't know who you are.
Exactly. So if you don't know them, then you don't know who they are, right? That's very good. So is there anything else you want to tell us about your experience with the book?
Yes.
Tell us, we're listening.
The more you know of your history, the more liberated you are.
to page 4. Page 4 says, why is it important to know my family roots? And this is one particular page that I was exploring with my sons. We're looking at different reasons why it is important to know our family roots. There is exploring family origins, family interests, and family values. Discovering family values. When we talk about our roots, we immediately think our parents, our grandparents, where we come from, but there is more to that. There is also understanding our family values, our family traditions, our family no-nos, our family superpowers, our family stories. All these are things that can enrich our conversations with our children. And for that, this is why we're here. We're here to know the story behind this book, but to also not just buy a book and take it home and put it on our shelves, but also go and actually start having these conversations with our children. Yeah? So without taking more time, I would like to invite Dr. Chizoba to the front for our chat, because I want us to go deep into this book, how it came about, her own roots, her own story. You're welcome. Let me ask for microphones. Can we have, yeah. So, Dr. Chizoba, there are so many topics you could have talked about, but you went straight to our truth, and our truth that comes from understanding our roots. How did this book come about?
Thank you, Barbara. How did this book come about? Like in the video, I talked about moving to Canada when I was 16. And when I moved to Canada, I think a lot of my little bubble, I met with Jackie last week, and she asked me for the first time what was my childhood like. And the only thing I could describe it as was that I lived in a bubble. So moving to Canada at the age of 16, I think the bubble I had about myself, my country, I didn't really have much of an awareness about my continent, really. All that really was clear in my head was that I was Nigerian and that I'm Igbo. So getting to Canada now, I started to get a lot of questions. Questions like, where are you from? How come you speak such good English? And I was like, what? How come I speak such good English? Okay. We speak and we spoke English. We speak English all of our lives in Nigeria. So I immediately found out that it appeared that we Africans tend to know more about other people. Because I had seen snow before, I knew apple, I knew many things that seemed to be normal to the Canadians that I met there. But the most basic things about us, they didn't know. But what was even more concerning was that I also didn't know the most basic things about myself. I met lots of young Canadians as well that was trying to raise money for Africa. And you would see them super enthusiastic, you know, but then what they're trying to raise money and what they're trying to raise for is chickens, goats, building a well. So on the one hand, I was quite surprised by this, you know, this they were being nice people, but I wasn't sure what were they raising money for. Like, what is the problem? And it wasn't just about me. A lot of the other Africans I met didn't seem to think there was something wrong on the continent. So really that got me to start to question things. And what I came to realize is that I, as well as all the other Africans that I was in Canada with, we had been socialized in a consciousness that wasn't ours. What it meant to be educated was to be pulled away from who you really are. So when I would go back to Canada for Christmas, I'll go back to Canada, come back from Canada to my village for Christmas, I would want to communicate with my grandfather, and I can't understand his Igbo. But I'm educated. So there are all these contradictions that I started to ask. What does it mean to be educated and you can't engage with people in your village? But I knew my grandfather was a very brilliant man. He helped set up the church in a number of churches in Nigeria. He made a conscious decision to stop going to church. He had very clear values. So this wasn't a stupid man by any stroke of the imagination. So then it didn't make any sense to me why even my grandfather in his brilliance, what it meant for me to be educated was to be completely drawn away from him and really my roots. So this got me really going. And then in Canada, I think there were other contradictions. I've been on this journey since I was 19. I set up an organization when I was 19, mobilizing other young people to take action. And that got me exposed to a lot of places. But I found something interesting in Canada as well. There was a time I was a teaching assistant, and I went to University of Toronto, and I was quite popular at the U of T. And I had an instance where I was in a room where only teachers were supposed to be. But a security guard came into that room and asked for my ID. There were other people in that room. There was another white lady, but I was the only black person there. And they came to ask for my ID. And I was like, why are you asking for my ID? The simple answer to that was that he didn't think I belonged there. So again, and I've heard, Oprah Winfrey, as rich as she is, she's gone to go shopping in Paris. Nobody knows her. They tell her, I'm sorry, you can't afford this. So what all of these experiences also showed me was that I'm not a white person. Even if I speak English, I am not white. But I think the education we have received makes us to think that to be advanced, to have arrived, is to pull yourself completely away from your language, from your ways of being. To have arrived is to now be palatable to the Queen of England or to the King of England. So this experience in Canada of even being very popular, but still being carded, even though I was a very popular student, I was top performing, everybody knew me, but still I was carded because no one thought that anyone that looked like me should be a teaching assistant. So this made it clear to me that we should not be trying to be like anybody else. We need to be the best version of ourselves. But our education system has done the opposite for us. So know your roots, know your truth for me was a way to be able to create space to assert that we live in a world where there are many cultures and traditions that are beyond Adam and Eve. Adam and Eve as an origin. There are many origins beyond the Adam and Eve origin story. But we've grown up having Adam and Eve as the origin story, as the pinnacle. So our global society is arranged in that kind of hierarchy. But my experience in Canada then showed me that I can never, no matter how polished my English is, I will never be accepted. I will never even be the best version. I'm just doing a mockery of anyone else. Why don't I just be myself? Why don't I just be Black, Nigerian, Igbo? Be the best version of that. So know your roots, know your truth was supposed to be a way for me to help us as Africans to show up on the global stage, equipped to bring the magic, the knowledge that can only be found when you are standing firmly in that thing that makes you uniquely you.
So I want to bring this back to our families. Yes. I want to bring this back to our families. I believe we get the blueprint of who we are in our families. It's what our parents teach us when we're still young. It's the language our parents talk to us when we're still young. It's the values we grow up seeing. But it requires a lot of intentionality that my mind, when I'm thinking about this, I'm thinking of our parents. I feel like our parents were more intentional when they were cultivating these values, our love for our country. An intentionality that I think our generation is lacking. Our generation is more or less missing the point slowly. And I'll give a small example from the Rwandan context. I mean, you wrote this. This book has a Pan-African touch to it, but I want to bring this back home here in Rwanda, in consideration of our past, in consideration of where this country has been 30 years from today, 31 years ago, the journey we have taken as Rwandans. We have a multi-layered history that we have different experiences as a country and as people of this nation. But when I think of our parents, irrespective of where we are before the genocide, because we have a way where we always refer to the genocide. But when I think of where we are, if you were in Rwanda or if you were outside Rwanda, there was an intentionality that I remember our parents having when it was about our Rwandanness. Simple things like getting us to speak our language. We lived in different countries in East Africa. My personal story, I was born in Burundi, I grew up in Uganda, and then I came back after the genocide. But I couldn't speak Luganda at home. It was not allowed to speak Luganda at home because my parents were very intentional about us speaking Ikinyarwanda. So when we come back to our roots, and I'm coming back to what I was saying, I feel like there is a disconnect that is happening with the millennial generation where we are finally back home. We are enjoying the peace that we have. We're enjoying the nation that we have. But there is that intentionality that I am not seeing. I could be wrong, but there is an intentionality that I feel like we are slowly losing. Now, when we talk about knowing our roots as parents, I see this room full of young parents and aspiring parents. I ask myself, what is the intentionality that it takes us to share these values with our children, to speak to our children the language, our language, and kindly share that with your personal experience from a Nigerian background, because one thing I know about our Nigerian brothers and sisters is that they will show up Nigerian in their full glory. They will speak the language. You will know their food. You will know their music. I mean, much love and respect to our Nigerian brothers and sisters in this room, but they show up with their whole Nigerianness. So it's interesting coming from you saying that you grew up in Canada, but when you went back home, you couldn't really connect. And this is different from what we have experienced when we see Nigerians, because when they show up, they will show up Nigerian. I want to hear from your experience as a child, but also touch on the intentionality that it requires for parents to share the roots with their children and what this book stands for.
Thank you. When I think about my Nigerian context, I think there are two sides. I think there is what people see, and then there is the way things need to be, and maybe there are three sides. And then there is what parents feel they must do to help their children get ahead. If I start with what parents think they need to do to help their children get ahead, I think of my own parents. It was when I was doing my PhD research that I learned about the Biafran War as a personal truth. So the Biafran War, it's the Nigerian Biafran War, mostly Eastern Nigeria versus Nigeria. I'm Igbo, but this was also a Nigerian event. I had to call my father when I was doing my research to ask, please, I read Chimamanda Adichie's book, and then a lot of things were like, I'm like, well, I know this place. So I had to call him and ask him, Daddy, like, did this happen when you were alive? He said, yeah. I remember during the war, we ate lizards, we did. I'm like, so why haven't you talked about it before? And what I realized is that for many Igbo parents, in a country, within a context where justice and inclusion is not the background, doing some of these things, it feels like it's not going to take you far. So even, you hear many people accuse Igbo parents of saying in Igbo, Ijibo Ejebe, where is Igbo going to actually take you to? Because they tell you we live in a global world. You need English. You need to do what you need to do to pay the bills. So I think for many of our parents, for my father, for example, talking about the war within a context like Nigeria, where is that going to get me? I need to pay school fees. I need to do this. So for many of them, the hustle of even just being alive to get by, it's just maybe it's not a priority, or it's just a past that feels like baggage. So there's that. Then I think there is Nigeria, which is a colonial construct. So while I think Nigerians have done a good job creating an identity around Nigeria, nobody in Nigeria voted to create Nigeria. Nigeria, as we understand it, as we see it, is a very problematic entity that many were still trying to figure out how to make it work. So I think in what people see is the Nigeria that we have tried to gather around to make work. Because a united Nigeria will serve all of us. But for Nigeria to serve all of us, we need to do the groundwork of sorting out our roots, figuring out what are the terms on which such a diverse nation must live and survive on. Justice and inclusion in every sense of the word. Right now, when you even look at the Nigerian education system, a lot of the problems we have was designed to be that way, because we had a curriculum conference where it was established that you wouldn't teach history, you would do social studies instead of history. English was made primary. So there are many fundamental issues. So I think many African countries, we need to still look at how did we become what we are. And that's what I was saying in the video, that many of us grow up not understanding what this construct is. We almost grow up with an amnesia. You're just cut off. All you know is independence. We got independent in 1960 and then we're moving forward.
Nothing pre-independence.
Nothing pre-independence. So many scholars have said that while Africa may have been politically independent, the most important part of our independence should have been intellectual independence, which was what we never did, which is very difficult work, which is what I hope that through this kind of conversations we're having, we can at least elevate the discussion to move away from, we're now all wearing Ankara prints that, by the way, is mostly imported from China. Let's now just graduate a little bit from that to now actually understanding how did we understand biology before colonizers came? What was physics for us? What was chemistry for us? How did we heal people? How did people give birth? So it's all of those knowledge systems that is unique to us. And in settling that, in understanding how we can become economically viable by standing within that. So I'm not, and I think maybe what needs to be clear is that this is not really about Africa being inward looking. It's about Africa being able to facilitate a global structure that is more inclusive of non-European languages as well. I think we often think of ourselves in hierarchies. I think what I want to invite is that let's think of ourselves as a community of equals that are different. We're equal, but we're different. So you don't penalize my difference. So if we see ourselves as equal but different, we're in a circle, not in a ladder, trying to push each other down. So this is what this, for me, it's about in thinking about, you know, the Nigerian context. The Nigerian context, we're on a journey, and I think it's the whole of Africa. We're good. We've made lovely things out of the construct called Nigeria. Now, and that's like you've painted the wall. You know, there's an expression in Igbo that says, "Hapu ihe dere na moto, banye n'ime moto." Is leave, forget about what they wrote on the car and enter inside the car. So now we need to enter inside the car and arrange the car very well.
Yes.
Make it smell nice, make it feel nice, that even the least amongst us. Because I think every society should be judged by how the least amongst us treated. When you see how our societies are, it's the big people with the big loudspeaker that are in government positions within the Nigerian context, really, that are treated well. But the average person doesn't get a chance. So we need to be able to rearrange inside that bus. So that if you're a child, as Aisha Yusufu says, her dream for Nigeria is that the child of nobody can become somebody without knowing anybody. So we need to arrange inside of our bus so that the least amongst us can show up, can get what you need to be who you have been called on this earth to be. And part of that is being connected to that thing only you and your ancestors have and always had. And our education system, the way the education system is currently designed, is designed to drag you far away from that. I hope that this, and I think this requires not just efforts at a family level. So back to what I was saying about the background music has to enable parents to want to be intentional and have to actually reward you for being intentional. So for example, I think, and Rwanda does a fantastic job. Kinyarwanda is spoken in government offices. I even hear that your military training is now in Kinyarwanda. So there are actually practical and economic rewards for doing culture in many African countries. Even within your own states, speaking Igbo may not get you a job. So to be considered successful is to pass maths and English. But maybe to be considered successful, you should pass history. You should pass your indigenous language, and then maths and English.
Wow. I feel like there is so much to unpack when we're talking about knowing our roots and truth. But as we get close to closing this fireside chat, because we're going to have a panel discussion, I want to ask you, what do you hope this book will help not just Rwandan families, but all the other families that are here and everyone who's going to hold this copy? What do you hope this will achieve?
At least two things. So first is maybe an urgency to reclaim what can be claimed. We're different and we're beautiful. There is beauty in being different. Full stop. You know, I think it's Chimamanda. I really love Chimamanda. Chimamanda says, you know, I'm not jollof rice or I'm not lollipop or ice cream. Everybody doesn't have to like you. So I feel like we grow up wanting to be liked by everybody. So I hope this book will inspire people to be like, yeah, maybe I grew up knowing French, but no, maybe I'm actually at the core maybe Wolof or something else. I just came from Senegal. You know, so being comfortable in wanting to claim what can be reclaimed and accepting that I am different and my difference is my power, and I'm going to take that power to the global stage. I'll take it with me everywhere I'm going to. Everybody doesn't have to like me because I'm not jollof rice, I'm not lollipop, I'm not ice cream. I am who I am. So first, I think parents being able to own that and know that our culture is the only thing we have. Again, Chimamanda gave an example when she went to, talking to a Nigerian audience who asked the question, Ejibo, Ejebe, where are you going to with your Igbo? It could be, where are you going to be your Kinyarwanda? And she, in response, she had said that, you know, she responded to that, well, her thought about that was that, well, that's a stupid question. But that she's gone to Finland, that is a very small country, and Iceland, a very small country. And nobody there would ever ask, what are you doing with Finnish? With the Finnish language? What are you doing with Iceland? Nobody ever asks that. People just know that that's what I have and you work with it. And so she goes on to say that there's a certain kind of dignity that money can never buy. So no matter all the English you speak, there's a certain kind of dignity. Like, you're still going to be asked in Canada, how come you speak such good English?
Yeah.
How come you speak such good French? So she says there's a certain kind of dignity that money can never buy, or having access to a job, or whatever it is that we think we get by giving away everything. And that dignity, you only get it through your culture, through your language, because nobody can take that away from you. Then I think on the second level, for me, it's about Pan-African unity. Pan-African unity, not just for its sake, but for a new global citizenship agenda. Like I said, when we, even here, many people see me and they're speaking Kinyarwanda to me. If I'm being attacked by a white supremacist, he does not know if I'm Rwandese, he doesn't know if I'm Senegalese, he doesn't know if I'm Nigerian, all he knows is you're black.
You're black, yes.
So for me, I think it's important. I hope this book will resurrect the spirit of reconciliation amongst blacks, knowing each other, being intentional about how we're supporting, lifting each other up, lifting up our governments, or lifting up the good things our governments are doing, but also then being able to push for a global agenda, a societal agenda that gives equal currency to our culture. So in our schools, there should be space for our indigenous languages. Our indigenous languages should not be an afterthought. We need textbooks in our indigenous languages. We need curriculum materials in our indigenous languages. Those are the things that I hope that maybe from after a parent looks at this or someone in government looks at this, maybe we're a bit more in a hurry to want to make that next project, to do research on what physics meant in Rwanda before the genocide, you know, and then we start to resurrect that and figure out how that can enable us to help young people to be transdisciplinary in how they solve problems now.
I love that. I want to take 2 questions from the audience. If anyone has a question for Dr. Chizoba, and then we close this up. Do we have questions and the microphone ready? If anyone wants to ask a question I might have missed. Yes, there is a question at the back. Yes. And let them get you a microphone.
So Mwiriwe, I wish I could say it as well in Igbo. So you teach us how to say Mwiriwe in Igbo. But so my name is Kyusan Nwari, and I resonated a lot with what you were saying. And towards the end, I loved how you said that as well, knowing more about each other. 54 more countries on the continent, one of the most diverse, the most diverse actually, continent in the globe. But I'm reminded when you were deconstructing about education, because even like we were saying, our parents' generation, my mom always used to joke that, so born in Rwanda, she was saying she would know about the distance of Belgium to Paris, because that's what they were taught in school, but you couldn't ask her about Nigeria to Senegal. So in my mind is how do we keep on building these bridges? Because everything you were saying, when we all went at some point maybe outside of our countries, we realized we knew a little bit more about our previous colonizers than between each other. And I'm always amazed when I would relate with some fellow Africans. You said Shona, Igbo, Yoruba, other countries. I would say, oh my God, do you have a naming ceremony too? Oh my God, you bow to your elders. Like I was like, oh my God, we're so similar. I thought we were so different because, so if you can give us more tips on how to, extend that hand to another country, extend that hand to a fellow African, because again, that's one thing I've seen, and you said it as well, is how the Finns, a part of Finland, I don't know if Finnish or Finn is not spoken anywhere else, but they still learn it. Whereas us, sometimes there's a sense of, when I've arrived, let me master that new whatever language where I am, to the point where I remember seeing on campus sometimes maybe other fellow Africans, not avoiding me, but kind of, hey, I'm here, I want to be with them, don't talk to me too much. And you're thinking, but at the end of the day, even in excellence, you still be carded, as you said. I remember I went to the US when Obama was the president. We thought we're all presidential. We were reminded that we were not. So that's where I'm always reminded, please remind us how to build more bridges. And I'm always fortunate to be in Rwanda now when there's like ALU. 2 weeks ago, I went to the African School of Governance where many amazing Africans came and shared with us their experience. And I'm just thinking, how do you think when you go back to Nigeria, when you went to Senegal, how do you remind them of, hey, don't just think outside, think within. Because as they say, I want to finish with a proverb, as you share so many proverbs. When there's no enemy within, the enemy without cannot hurt you.
100%.
Thank you. Do we have one more question? Yeah, we have one more here.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Chizoba, for the opportunity to be part of this book launch. My name is Aidevo, and I'm Nigerian. And I really connect with this book. I'll say a short story and ask a question, if I'm allowed to.
Yes.
So, in Nigeria, people intermarry. Right, we have a lot of tribes. Mr. Ayo, Professor, can you assist me? How many are we? Like 250.
At least 250 tribes.
Yeah, tribes, yeah. So we intermarry, right? So my mom is Yoruba and my dad is Edo, right? My mom is from a majority tribe and my dad is from a minority tribe. And when you marry, right, you kind of move away from females. We know that you move away from your mother's house and father's house, and you kind of cling to your husband, and that's where you're from. And for me, my dad kind of cut off from his own family. And I remember when we were coming to the metropolitan city of Lagos, he told us, I'm not sending you to look for any cousins. Just face what you went to Lagos to do, and that's in search of greener pasture, work, and that's it. So I don't know any of my cousins from my father's side. I don't know my uncles, nothing. But as I grew up, I felt that gap. There was something missing. I was not Yoruba. I'm Edo, but I'm not fully Edo. I don't understand my language. I don't know my cousins. I can't meet them on the street and say, oh, this is a Monite. I can't, right? And I started to feel bad about it. So first thing I did was I started to bear my name that was called from my father's side, and that's Aidevo. My other name is Bumi, so I wouldn't bear that. So if you call me Bumi, that means you knew me from when I was in primary school or secondary school, or university. But immediately I started to work, I changed that name because I wanted to belong. I wanted to identify with my father's side. Now I take this book back home, and then I married someone from Edo State. But he also lived in metropolitan city of Lagos, and everybody speaks English very well, but the native language we can't speak. And I have 2 children, right? They speak English. But because I speak my mother's language, I'm able to teach them that. But the fact is that they're from Edo State. Benin people, they need to speak their father's language. One is 19, one is 14. Is that not too late? That's one. Then I take this book back. Now somebody's going to ask me from my father's side, and I cannot answer any question. So how do I do it? Really, I feel I'm really connected to this book, Chizoba. You don't know what you've done. But and I'm just asking myself that question. So if this boy asks me tonight, Mom, so your grandfather, your cousins, I don't know. So how do we deal? Please help.
Wow. Thank you.
Man.
Can you speak into this?
I think Clava will be able to speak into it better,
Yes.
but I'll try. I think the question around building bridges, I think we're starting something today, but there's also something we used to do in Canada and in Nigeria. In Canada, to get people to learn French, there's a program where you can go live in Quebec for 6 weeks. You live with a family, you go to school there. And then in Nigeria, we also have something called the Youth Service, where it was created after the war as a way to enable Nigerians understand themselves. Now it's a mess. But I think in principle, it does make a lot of sense. So it would be a very good thing if maybe the African Union can help. The ambassador is here. The African Union can help. With a program like that. I think that's the kind of intentionality that we need. But I think also even beyond the continent here, the Caribbean as well. So I was very, I grew up in Canada with a very strong Trinidadian family. So a lot of the things that they did, they ate okra, the things we used to pound food, exactly the same things. So I think not only within the continent, being able to connect with our brothers and sisters in diaspora, particularly in the countries like in Jamaica, there are black people in Sri Lanka, there are black people in India, there are black people in Colombia, there are black people everywhere. So I think if we can be intentional with an exchange program that allows us to go to where they are and they also come here. Many countries do it, but I don't think I've not heard of any program like that within the continent, so there's an opportunity for that. Idaho's question. Idaho, I think it's difficult. It's difficult, but I think the intention to find your roots, I think is enough. And if your son asks you the question, you explain to him, that's also part of your roots. And you guys can do it together and go discover. Every holiday is a mission to find an uncle or an auntie. I really think that's where you start from.
Wow. Thank you so much. Can we give Dr. Chizoba a round of applause as she goes back to her seat? And thank you for your engagement. I want to ask the ushers to help us set the stage for our panel discussion. I am going to invite panelists to discuss deeper into this topic of our roots and finding our truth, sharing our truth. But before we go there, as you may have noticed, we have photographers and videographers taking photos and videos. If you're not comfortable with your photos or your videos out there, look for one of the ushers at the back and let us know. Should have done this at the start, but yeah, if you don't want your photos taken, just let us know. And this book is not just ending here. We want to start a movement around this. So we will be creating a community around Know Your Roots, Know Your Truth. We will be sharing more with this. We asked for phone numbers. We will share more with this, more to do with this community later. But we want to start a roots community where families, educators get to share and get to keep searching and sharing the truth within the communities and with their children. And we will have a few activities coming in the next few months. We will share that with you as well. But we want to keep this moving. We don't want this to just be a book that we put out there, but we want this to keep growing. But we also want to do more. We want to donate more books to schools. So we want to donate 100 copies of the workbook to the library. Can we clap for that? We'll be donating 100 copies of this book to the library, and the library can determine which school to share these books with, because we want this conversation to keep going. We don't want it to stop here. As you have seen, there is a QR code on the pull-ups. We will invite you to scan the QR code and you will fill in a post-event survey and keep this conversation moving. Now, without taking more time, I would like to invite the following panelists for a deeper conversation on knowing our roots and sharing our truth. I would like to invite Ambassador Williams Nkurunziza to the panel. Ambassador William B. Nkurunziza is a seasoned diplomat, writer and global speaker with over 3 decades of experience in shaping Rwanda's presence on the international stage. He has served as Rwanda's ambassador to the United Kingdom, Turkey, and as High Commissioner to India, advancing trade, innovation, and continental cooperation. He is a man of many hats. He's a poet. He's many, many things. Thank you so much, Ambassador Williams, for gracing this event. I want to invite a parent who has worked with this workbook and with her child, Aline Umutoni Rutabingwa, who is a wellness strategist and nutrition coach with over 15 years of experience in corporate finance. Welcome, Aline. She's the founder of BU Holistic Health, where she designs wellness experiences and practical nutrition programs that empower individuals and families to thrive. I want to invite Mr. Claver Irakoze. Claver Irakoze is the founder of Umurage Parenting Center and a former memory worker with the Kigali Genocide Memorial and the Aegis Trust. He has contributed to the preservation of Rwanda's history through digital archives and peace education. He's an author, he's a global speaker, he's written books. He's written a book regarding his testimony, but he has also written a book for children. Thank you, Claver. Thank you, Aline. And last but not least, I want to invite Madame Susan Lees, who is the principal at Green Hills Academy, the nursery school. And she's an early childhood leader with extensive experience in inquiry-based and play-centered education across Africa, Europe, and the Middle East. And she serves as the principal of the Green Hills Academy Nursery School here in Kigali. Can we give them a round of applause? So this panel is going to be a rich panel. I'm going to ask one question each to our panelists because I believe there is so much to unpack about this topic, but to also give you room to ask questions. And I want to start with Claver. There is a book, Claver has 2 books out. There is I want us to emphasize on transmitting memories in Rwanda. In his book, Transmitting Memories in Rwanda, He shares, he's also a survivor of the genocide against the Tutsi, but he shares how his children started asking questions about his roots. Who were your parents? Your father, your mother, who were they? Do you have pictures? And like we know with the history of this country, we have so many people who do not, unfortunately, do not even remember what their parents looked like, who can't recall them, who don't even have memories. At the end of the genocide, we had so many orphans, and Claver was one of them. So now we are here talking about knowing your roots and knowing your truth. And I want to start with a basic question. This is it's a very sensitive topic when it comes to the Rwandan context. We have a book telling parents, let's share our roots with our children, but some of these parents do not remember or do not even know who their parents were. How do we start this conversation within our context? And how have you been doing it with your children?
It's a tough question. Let me make this disclaimer. So what I want to share is my personal experience and what I believe is best practice. It's not like mathematics where you have 1 + 1 = 2. So it varies depending on the context. But before I answer your question, let me begin by congratulating you, Dr. Chizoba, for this amazing book. It's we don't have many books like this. And that's where many parents struggle because we don't know where to start from. And know your roots, as you can understand it, it sends us back in the past, history. And I want us to take history as not only what happened. We have to understand history as what we remember, and beyond that, how we choose to live after everything breaks. And for those who are in the room tonight, you've chosen to be here because you want to learn, or because you recognize that there is a gap in how you're driving your life. So a book like this, for me, I consider it as a book for parents, first and foremost. It is only when we have been able to read the book, find answers, that we'll be able to engage our children in a conversation that is safe. Otherwise, we'll be caught up in surprises. And you know, answering to questions you are not prepared for sometimes can break you down. You can give answers that will not help young ones. And for us to be able to help them, we have, one, to recognize that this is their right. They have that right to know. But in post-genocide Rwanda context, that is very hard, like you said. People like me, very young parents like me, or even younger, are struggling because those who still have parents, their parents are still navigating the traumas of the past. And depending on where history put you, what do you have to share as a parent? And I want to share this story very quickly of a friend of mine, very close friend, whose father has been in prison for the past 25 years. And this man chose to forget that his father existed. 25 years later, the father is back. And the father has got grandchildren who don't know that this old man is their grandpa. A question of choice. And this man will not, unless he decides to really completely cut all the connection with the family, but you know, the truth is the father is back and he's visiting the family, and the man is very worried that kids will ask, who are you? Where have you been? I'm coming back to the question of how we choose. Because the choices we make today, obviously will have an impact on how we live our future, okay? Is it easy? The answer is not. Is it possible? The answer is yes. Possible, but very difficult. So the intentionality of us allowing this conversation to happen is the right choice we can make, but that requires us to sacrifice our pain, our loss, our identity, our connection to the history. That was one example, but in my case, I struggled a lot to talk about my parents. I had no photos, I had nothing, but for those who have read my book, Transmitting Memories in Rwanda, one thing that shows the power of storytelling, the power of connection, is a drawing that is in the book that was made by my kids out of the words I shared, My dad was tall, my mom was very black skin, and we kept on exchanging, answering their questions. And in the end, they were able to create this drawing that I had to put in the book to inspire other parents, to tell you that when you allow the conversation to happen, there will be connection. Kids will create a sense of what you tell them. And let me tell you, children do not fear truth. No. They fear silence. When they ask and we don't respond, that's where problems start. Because they will go on searching for the truth, and we will find ourselves collecting the misinformation they get out there on internet or in the community, especially in the Rwandan context where everyone knows everyone, So I invite you parents to buy this book, to read it before you expose it to your children, so that you are prepared to have a conversation. And this is not a one evening conversation. It's going to be a very long conversation, and that's how we create connections, and that's how we build bridges that transcend generations. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Claver. My next question goes to Aline. Your son used this workbook, and you were involved in many conversations at home. They were asking questions, and this created a moment in the family where you actually had to sit and answer the questions, have these conversations that Claver was talking about. What simple practice would you recommend to parents who are here as they take a copy of this book back home on these conversations that they're going to start having with their children? What did this open up in your family while your son was walking through this book? Because he was also on the video.
Yeah, thank you. So this book came in our home at a very meaningful moment, because our son had begun to ask questions about our family member and the relatives, grandparents who are no longer with us. Maybe for context, both my husband and I are genocide survivors. So with the complexity and the heaviness and the trauma that this history of ours carries to the next generation. So last year we had started this conversation about grandparent, about why he does not have all his grandparents as all his friends do. And obviously, naturally, it also brought this conversation about genocide. And what I appreciated with this book is that this book now is bringing a new perspective to this work, to this conversation that has begun a year ago. we are no longer using the lens of loss and the lens of sadness, but we are going through this history with joy, with a lot of curiosity, a lot of learning aspects to it, and getting to connect to those relatives in a sense that is no longer too emotional, but it is getting to know them. How do they look like? How do I look like? How much do I relate to them in terms of, I think the very interesting part of it was him realizing that he has similarity with those relatives, physical resemblance or just behaviors and character. And it was very interesting to kind of bring light to this dark history, I would say. And him completing the exercise into the book also helped him getting to know the family values, getting to gain a lot of belonging, I would say, like a lot of insight on our culture, on the language. And I'm certain that this will be a huge part, kind of helping him growing grounded, feeling a huge sense of belonging and identity, and feeling proud of being Rwandan, of his history. And like practical, like how would I encourage my fellow parent is just start the conversation. It can simply be as just telling the story of how they were born. And then from them to you, to your parents, to the country, to the heroes in our lineage, but also to the heroes in our countries. And I hope this will help kind of build this this sense of belonging, this sense of identity, because I know the lack, from my personal experience growing up outside of the country, living outside of the country for many years, I've seen young people with an countless possibility of or opportunities just struggle with the fulfillment, struggle with the later on with the mental challenges, with identity crisis, and just because they have lost their root, they have lost the connection to where they are coming from. So I really believe that speaking your language, knowing your culture, knowing your country, knowing your history, family, is a huge contribution to who you are becoming, and also to your fulfillment and to the success of one can just dream of.
Thank you. There is something you said about the lens. This book helped change the lens, where we're not looking at our roots from a place of pain, but now we are allowing ourselves to change how we see our past, our parents, our grandparents. It's not only death. There was much more to their life than the death and the genocide. So I love how the book contributes to that. Now, my question comes to you, Susan. As an educator, what is the important? First of all, I want to hear what stood out for you in this book. What stood out for you? And then as an educator, why is this tool very important in helping us start building the identity of our children from a young age?
Thank you very much. Well, I connected immediately with this book, and the conversations that I started with Dr. Chizoba. I'm passionate about children's literature, and this book has so many elements to support so many areas in a child's life. personal, social, and emotional development. And when you think about making connections for young children, and I'm in a nursery school, so 2 to 6 years old, they want something that is concrete, something that is relevant and timely. So these kind of questions are very close about their names. They connect really easily with their name. And then you can start having conversations about, why did you choose that name? It ropes them in. It's like a hook for further discussion. And having time to talk with your children is so powerful. So in our nursery school, we use this book as a springboard for further inquiries. The nursery 2 learners, they were 4 years old. We talked about the connection of themselves and knowing your roots, about family trees. How could they visualize that? And going back to drawing and creativity, the power of just drawing a tree, and what does the tree look like, and how many branches, and what are roots, how they're connected to your own history. And all these big ideas about values or history or relationships or belonging, you have to make it tangible to a child because they're very big ideas. And this book scaffolds those kind of questions to unpick these bigger ideas. So our 4-year-olds, they created a homeschool project. We involved the parents. They were involved in creating their own family trees. All the trees were different and the same. And I love the word and rather than but, because we're finding connections. We're finding those connections that make us who we are and how we express ourselves. There are differences, but we should celebrate the differences. And it was this kind of really powerful celebration, the creativity of the parents and the children. And we created a wonderful forest in the foyer. And there's a wonderful quote in the book, which I love. A family is like a forest. When you are outside, it is dense. When you are inside, you will see that each tree has its place. And it was really a powerful exhibition from the children and the parents to celebrate who they are and how they could express themselves. So please go out and buy this book because it is a wonderful springboard for further conversations, even with the little ones. But if you've got older children, you can cascade the kinds of discussions to really unpick these big ideas and conceptual understandings. So thank you very much.
Thank you. My next question goes to Ambassador William. I also want to know what stood out for you about this book. I mean, you're also a writer yourself. What did you relate to in this book? But also, in a moment where Africa is calling for a generation that is both rooted and globally aware, how can this book or tools like this book help us as we raise a generation that we want competitive on the global stage, but one that doesn't lose its roots, that doesn't lose its grounding?
Thank you, MC. Good evening, everyone. Let me start by also commending the good doctor for penning a very good book that touches a matter that all of us as Africans should be concerned with. Partly because of our history, a history in which we were told that our cultures had no meaning, that another race had to come and civilize us. Sorry about, but you know the history. So there is this history that we grew up with that tells you your roots are not good. For you to move forward, look at the civilizing cultures. Basically, we grow up being told our roots were cut. And then we live in a time where the speed of social life has made it difficult for parents to actually engage in the kind of socialization that our parents invested in us. So we live in a time, they call it the digital age, where the meaning of the extended family has changed. It's no longer about your bloodline. It is about your cyberspace connections, the people who follow you and like what you post. That becomes your immediate family, which is why when it's dinner time at home, mother and father, daughter and son revert to the phone and talk to their friends, not to each other. So the importance of this book for me is that it pulls us back, because I think we kind of lost. I went through the book, and reading through it, it feels like an usher's hand on your back, gently nudging you along on a journey of self-discovery. It is very well crafted. There is no pressure, but there is detail. Okay? There is no demand. There is encouragement to seek. You move from one page and you want to answer questions on the next page. And that particular capacity of the book to encourage you on this journey of self-discovery, to understand your family, to understand your roots, to understand your bloodline, to understand the place of your family in society and in the world, as well as to understand the values that anchor your family. It is a conversation that we need to have as Rwandans, as Africans, as people in this world. And you ask me what should happen with regard to tooling or preparing the young generation of Africans to embrace the Pan-African spirit. And I will say two things. Okay, I'm sorry you're going to have to give me a long time. I'll say two things, actually three things that I want to say. One is our young people need to be encouraged to actually do what this book is encouraging. Get to understand their roots. Get to understand their family history. Get to understand the values that anchor Rwanda to make it what it is. And then they need to think a lot harder to find out whether they can exist as an island or whether they need to transcend their tribes and their culture and build a new culture in which the African identity becomes something that is owned by all Africans. And I'd like to, if you permit, I'd like to elaborate by telling you two stories. One is a story about a girl in Ghana. This girl was sent by her family to, abroad for university. She comes home during holidays, and she seated on the front porch of their family home on a Thursday morning. Her name is Abina. I think among the Ghanaians, Abina means somebody who was born on Thursday. So the story starts on Thursday when she was born. And she's seated here, and her grandmother is seated like where Tessie is seated, sorting out some cassava, trying to dry some cassava that you were supposed to pound for dinner. And this girl is looking at her grandmother with a sense of disappointment. She doesn't like how the grandmother looks like. Why? Because she has these traditional marks that run, 3 long marks that run on both sides of her cheeks, okay, that look like permanent tears. And the girl looks at her, and according to her, she feels the scars make her look like a real villager. And she feels ashamed to be associated with this villager. She's university educated, so she thinks she should be associated with better images. Now, when she's looking at her mother, rather her grandmother catches her looking at her with this level of disgust. And the old woman, who was using a knife to spread the cassava, puts it down, stands up, walks slowly towards the young lady, and goes and kneels in front of her and holds her face and places her head on her forehead on hers and tells her, "My dear, these scars are my passport. These scars saved my mother, who is your grandmother, her mother, and so many other grandmothers before her, because when the slave traders came in our communities, the elders told them that the girls with these scars could not be sold because they belonged to the gods." And then she told her, "You are alive because the scars said no." If she didn't have the scars, she would never have lived. And that girl, that particular story, kind of, changed this girl's perception. In the evening, when they went to sleep, the girl decided to go and sleep with her grandmother. When her grandmother was asleep, the girl spent the whole night tracing the scars with her finger, because she had found a new meaning. She had discovered that the scars are the reason she exists. In the morning, she asks the grandmother to teach her the songs that mothers used to sing when they were carving these scars on babies' faces. And the grandmother was happy. She laughed, cried, and sang so beautifully, the whole village came to listen and to participate in the song. And that morning, in Abina's life, something that had been torn out was stitched back. The place where there was shame in the symbols of her heritage was replaced by pride in her heritage. Trying to understand your roots can be liberating. But we need to be careful. We need to be careful, because I'm not as enthusiastic as Dr. Chizoba when you're talking about using culture, using language to liberate Africa. We need to be very careful. Yes, we must discover our roots. But we also, I don't know who said it. I don't know whether it was you during the intervention. I think you said that the book is much more than finding your relatives. It's more about finding the values that underpin the society. Now that is where we need to focus. To focus on the values that transcend tribe, culture, and language and can become what binds the African family together. Why do I say this? On this continent, we have over 2,000 tribes speaking over 3,000 languages. You cannot build a Pan-African movement, a Pan-African identity, based on 300 languages and 200 families. My take is that as Africans who believe that the Pan-African ideal is what is going to free us, to give us strength, is that we must have the courage to stand on the shoulders of our tribes, what is great within our tribes, within our cultures, okay, and work together as Africans to build a new African identity, built on values that we share. That is what we need to do. And if you permit me, I'll give you another story that demonstrates how that worked in some place in Africa. The year is 1980. There is a youth African summit going on in Addis. There are young people from all around the continent. At the end of the summit, one girl from Namibia called Sewa decides to organize a group of 30 other students, rather youth people, to go and make a ride on town. Basically, check out Addis. And they go, end up in a bar, they sit, they are drinking, they're having fun, they are laughing. They are, young people from Senegal, from Mozambique, from Rwanda, from Tanzania, from, about 30 different countries. And as they are talking, the young lady from Rwanda, called Abera, doesn't look as excited as everybody else. She looks kind of sad. And then somewhere along the way, she starts to cry. Little tears begin to drop. And people begin to think, oh, Abela must be drunk. Okay? So they ask her, what is wrong? And that's when she started telling them a story. She tells them a story of how her parents were killed in 1959, how she grew up as a refugee, okay, and grew up in Uganda, okay, speaking Kinyarwanda, speaking English, but not seeing herself as an African, as a Ugandan, not knowing, she simply thought she was born to be a refugee. And this meeting that they were having, this Youth African Summit, made her feel differently. Now, as she was telling this sad story, next to the group where they were seated, there was an Ethiopian man. He was listening in, they didn't know. At the end of her story, the Ethiopian man stood up, came to Abera, took off his shawl, wrapped it around her, and told her, today, you're not a refugee. Today, you are Ethiopian, you are Zimbabwean, you are Senegalese, you are all of us, and we are all of you. And in this place, on this continent, we should not have Africans being called orphans or being called stateless. And through that particular act, the whole group that was there stood up and they started singing the Pan-African freedom song, Nkosi Sikelele ya Africa. The whole bus started singing. And when they sat down, Abera looked at these people and said, now I understand what home is. She was in Addis. She was not in Kigali. She was with strangers, but she understood what home is. She understood compassion. She understood care. Others had understood her resilience, okay, and had decided to make her part of her family. Now, what we noticed in this particular incident where so many different nationalities gravitate around one human, one person and say, no, you're not alone. You are part of us and we are part of you. That is what we need to do as Pan-Africanists, to gravitate around each other, to share our stories, but also share our purpose. Thank you.
I could listen to you talk the whole day. The storytelling just drives the point home. We are running out of time, but I want to take 2 questions from the audience, and then we close this panel, because we have 1 or 2 more activities after this. Do we have questions for our panelists? Yes, yes. Can we give Tessie the microphone?
Good evening again.
Good evening.
I'm going to take advantage of the home court advantage and ask my question. For many of us that are in the new parenting phase, we face a very positive ordeal, the ordeal of naming your child.
Mm-hmm.
There's this thing going on saying there's a new trend that our children, as a way to manifest our knowledge of our identities, that they should carry only random names. So let's say we should have, our sons should be called Kyusa Manzi, our daughters should be called Tetao Mutoni, without being called Barbara or, What's your take on that? What's your take on Christian names or foreign names, or foreign name calling? I just want, there are very many opinions that go on in the younger parents, but I'd love to hear from the older parents, because most of us have Christian names as first names. But a lot of not the new children, but a lot of our children now carry first name Kinyarwanda names, and sometimes just carry full-on Kinyarwanda names. So what's your take on it? Maybe from the older generation.
Wow.
Thank you.
Not
to exclude.
Yes. I want to hear from who wants to speak into that.
Oh dear. I really don't know. I'll change it around a little bit, because I have to contextualize it. Okay. I have got 2 sons. One of them is always annoyed at me because I gave him 3 Christian names, and he's called by his 3rd Christian name and not his first. So it's Stephen Leonard Adam Lease, and we call him Adam. And I explained about the history, that the first name was after his father and the second one was after his grandfather. But he said, well, why didn't you call me the first name first? Why didn't you just call me Adam? Hindsight is a wonderful thing. At the time, that's what we did. In terms of contextualizing it, there's a movement for Rwandan names. I'm not in a position to say if it's, I'll use the nursery terminology, a good choice or a poor choice. I think it's something that's very personal. If you can justify that, and again, it's finding your roots, and there's a time and a place. If you just say, and in explaining, in 2025, when I had to name you, these were the reasons why, then I think that is the best conversation that you could have. I wouldn't be in a position to say it's a good choice or a poor choice.
Yeah, thank you for the question, Tessie. So as you were saying, I think it's a personal choice. For me, two things made me take a choice on this matter. First of all, I strongly believe in the power of word. So I think your name carries you all your life. So it has to be something, this wishful thinking that your parent wants you to become or would like you to be a kind of person. So I was like, okay, I need to give a name that is so much meaningful that I wish my kids could at least look like his name. Second of all, second thing that made me make this choice was living living abroad for many years. As Dr. Chizoba was saying it, you encounter many questions or many how would I say it? Many challenges that questions your identity, that questions your belonging, your name, your root. So I was like, okay, I was quite sure that I would give my children a Rwandan name. So my firstborn is called Jabo Rwema, so which means I wish for him to be Kujiri Jabo, as we say in Kinyarwanda. I wish him to be Rwema, to be proud of who he is. And my second-born is a girl, and she's called Dimena, and I know in Kinyarwanda is a name that is a boy name. But I was like, why a girl cannot be the outstanding? So I was like, I want to give her this name because I want her to be the outstanding wherever she will be in her life. So I think it's a personal choice, but also this fact of growing up abroad and encountering this white supremacy where they question everything about yourself. I really wanted my children to be grounded in their culture, in their language, just to be Rwandan, as we like to say. Maybe Claver will have a more...
I'll be short. I think it is a very good thing, personally, because if you ask me what Claver means, I don't know. So I will go by Irakoze, which is something I'm able to explain, which is something I was explained by my parents. And so naming comes to a point where you are in a situation of expressing your emotions. So if you can do that in a language that you understand, that is much better. But we are also trying to fit in the global setting, you know. So someone will be Irakoze and then Claver because, you know, the religion is attached to that. But personally, I'm for Rwandan names, African names, because those are the names we can explain.
I think they are being very diplomatic. Tasty, to answer your question, I think part of the reason is a deliberate act of protest. Okay? a desire for the African to define his own identity, to reclaim our heritage, okay, and assert our place in the world as a sovereign people who do not need validation by some other cultures. And doesn't mean that because you're called Imena Nkurunziza, you can't worship God. But you can't surrender everything that is culturally yours so that you...
Let me use her words. She said that this is a movement starting, so I hope there will be more conversations in the future. Two, the book is available. Let us buy it. Take it home, read it, and then take it to our kids so that the conversation can happen. My last word is, when you talk about the past, parents tend to lie or to, hoping that when kids grow up, they will understand and they will be able to change the truth. No. We should tell the truth right from the beginning. What we have to consider is the age and the kind of depth in the content we give. Because when we lie, then we are creating more problems. So start early enough, allow conversation to happen, tell the truth gradually. Ninga serum, buhoro buhoro. Thank you.
Can we give them a round of applause as they go back to their seats? Thank you so much for your sharing your insights. Dr. Chizoba wants to give gifts to our panelists.
Thank you so much to our panelists. I'm sure everyone felt a deeper need to explore with this book. So just a token of appreciation for their time, energy. All of them have been great collaborators on this journey, and I just wanted to publicly say that and give a little token of appreciation to all of you. So please, if you don't mind coming back, so you take a picture and also have this little gift. But thank you, each and everyone. Susan, Ambassador, Clava, Aline, thank you for everything, as well as the accompaniment throughout this journey.
Maybe you hand a gift and then we take photos with each panelist. Yeah? A photo with each panelist.
And we also have something for you, Barbara.
Yes. A gift with each panelist. They're asking that you do one singular photo with each panelist. Let's do the group and then we'll do one single.
We are getting to the closing of our event, but before we close, we have a few people to acknowledge their presence and to thank them for their support. We recognize that we have a few representatives from the different government institutions. We have someone from the Ministry of Youth and Arts. I don't know if they are still here. Yes, thank you so much for coming, sir. And we have someone from the Ministry of Gender and Family Promotion. Thank you, PS, for coming. We appreciate you. We have someone from the Ministry of Education. They could have left, yeah. And Rwanda Education Board, yeah. We have Rwanda National Archives. We have a few people who've left. We have the Kigali Public Library leadership and staff. We have Tessie and a few staff members. Yes, and we want to thank you all for coming. And as we get to the close of our event, I would like to invite a representative of the Minister of Education, Dr. Fiona Mutazigaju, to come and give us her closing remarks. Thank you, Dr. Fiona, for coming.
Yeah, thank you so much. Distinguished guests, fellow parents and educators, good evening. As we come to the end of this wonderful event, I would like, on behalf of the Honorable Minister of Education, to first of all appreciate and thank Dr. Chizoba for her wonderful contribution to education sector through her book, Know Your Roots, Know Your Truth, the book that she's launching today. So this book fit very well within our education curriculum, from pre-primary to secondary education curriculum. So in our primary education curriculum, we have a subject that all students take, from P1 to P6, social studies subject. And the intent of this curriculum or social study subject is to help learners in primary education to become informed learners who understand their identity, who understand their values, who understand their culture, and who understand the society that they live in. So this is to say that this book really fit and support our education curriculum. In secondary education, we also have a subject that all students in secondary education, from senior 1 to senior 6, history and citizenship subject. And the essence of history and citizenship subject in secondary education curriculum is to help students in secondary education to understand very well their past, draw lessons from their past, understand in a very deep way our culture, our values, our history, and also understand the African culture and values in general. So as you can understand, so this book contributes to education system in Rwanda, it contributes to education curriculum, and for that I really want to say thank you so much for supporting our education system, for inspiring us, and also for contributing to the Rwandan knowledge and global knowledge. So I want to say thank you so much all for your participation, for your reflection, and I also want to encourage everyone to take this book, use the book, read the book, and let's all continue to build an education system that is value-based, that promote and honor our roots, and also an education system that contribute to helping students build the culture of understanding their roots and the truth. So thank you so much. And I want to commit on behalf of the Minister of Education to continue promoting the culture of reading, but also support the use of this book in our school. So thank you so very much.
Thank you so much. We have reached the end of our event. I want to invite Dr. Chizoba to come and thank every one of you for coming, and she'll give a few more gifts, and then we will be closing. We have a book signing session at the back, so please don't leave without your book signed. And thank you for coming. It has been a pleasure to host you. Have a great evening.
Thank you. Thank you so much, everyone. Words fail me, but thank you all for being here. And I don't even know where to begin, but this started just maybe 3 weeks ago. And there's the expression that it takes a village to raise a child. And I think that has been the story of this entire journey. But I think the parents of the journey has really been the library. My friends have always asked, like, how are you doing all of this? I'm like, really, the library has everything on lockdown. I either text Tessie or text Amahoro, and the problem is solved. So Tessie, please, I want you to come forward. I have a gift for you and Amahoro, just to say a big thank you for really modeling public service in a way that is extremely exemplary. I think this is really the goal that all our African countries ought to have. I'm Nigerian and we've not experienced this yet. So thank you for leading the way and being so kind. So this is for you. Yes, you're welcome. And I have a gift for Amahoro. And I also just really need to Amahoro is coming. I can't even explain in great detail how they made this possible, from opening up the library to us, to video, to giving us a designer that is on speed dial, on WhatsApp. It's just been incredible, so thank you. I also really need to thank, my friends. Zaina is here, and I recall that some of my friends had always asked, Tona and Isabel were one of the first people that asked, so won't you do a book launch? And it felt like such a strange thing to do until I went for a birthday party, thanks to my son Chidubem, that Chidubem makes friends and their parents come looking for me. So that's how I met Zaina, and I got invited to a party, and Zaina's husband tells me to tell my driver to go back home and bring all the books at home. And he did gift the book to everyone at that party. And so that's how Aline that you met got the book. So really, I think the importance of friendship, sisterhood, and Zaina connected me to Tessie. So I just want you, Zaina, please, I don't know where Chanel is, but these are the people, plus Tona, that really, if I feel like Kigali is a whole city with a big key, these are the people that unlocked the city for me. So please thank them so much for me. Yes, so thank you, Zaina, for everything. I do have a gift for you, but I didn't know you were going to put it. He's in the car. But yes, so thank you and thank them. And then all my other friends, they know themselves. We know we don't need to say where we are from, but we know each other, how we've done all of this, but also my support system at home. So I have a serious support system at home. Gideon, Flora, I'm sure Gideon, Flora, Jermaine, and then my brother here, his name is Sunday. When I first got this book, he was the one that bought the first 10 copies, and he went around. So I see you all. I thank you so much. And really, it's... I also want to invite our guest of honor. The Minister of Education has been so kind as well. When I reached out to him about this book, He was so enthusiastic. He wanted to be here. And then he said he was going to send a representative. And then a representative that I'm texting that is sending me quotes from the book. So I'm like, wow, like, oh my God. So please, I have a little token for you, Dr. Flora. I didn't even meet you, but I already knew you were a champion. So thank you so much. I have a gift for you and the minister, but thank you for saying yes. And I know this was all short notice, but thank you very much. Yes, and really, thanks everyone. I think the message is clear. This is just the beginning. This has to be a movement, and I think this is our time. They talked a lot about the community, so please join this Roots community. It's really the only way that we can shift things. So we're going to have an event in January at the library again, where we will read, we will celebrate each other. It will be based on the book. So please make sure we have the QR codes. Make sure you scan them. And then we also have a feedback form. Please, 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 please help us give feedback so that we can do this better. But thank you all. And I know there are lots of people watching online as well. Thank you for your support. And I look forward to seeing you at the next event. God bless you.